Hello everyone. So I've been asking quite a lot of questions recently and I've got a few answers come down. So I thought it was time that we should do another little video together. So I've been asking around everything that's been going on recently with Arizona and the levels of consciousness and all different types of questions. So I'm just going to go through them, not in any particular order, and let you know what they've been telling me the last couple of days. So the first thing I have been asking is, what will be the tipping point now, which will be the point of awakening for humanity? And they said to me that the tipping point will be when the masses realize that everything in their life has been a lie, and that a small number of people have been using subtle means, but yet effective means of coercion to subdue and trick the entire population. And I said, how and when will these truths be revealed? And they said that there is currently a wave of which is now rippling through the consciousness of humanity, and that gradually this will increase to produce a tidal wave of energetic change in the consciousness worldwide. They said that we are currently resonating at 55% consciousness or light as a planet, and that the tipping point is currently approaching. The tipping point, they said, for the collective or for a collective tidal wave would be 60% light. So this would be 60% light as a collective across the entire planet. So what that doesn't mean 60% of the people would be awake. It means that there would be 60% light on the planet. So what this means is, if you and me have 100% light, for example, and our neighbor only say has 5% awareness or light, then if you merge all the light together from everybody and all their different levels, once you arrive at 60% light from all of those people merging together, that's what they're calling the tipping point. So it's not 60% of people awakened, it's 60% light when you merge all the consciousness together. They said that the next big step will be the investigations into the election fraud and the removal of Joe Biden, who is obviously masquerading as the president. And this fits in with my prediction video from January, where we were told that there would be a big delay from the inauguration date right through until March to June, when we would then start seeing some more disclosure, and we would start seeing that the fraudulent election results would start to be either revealed or overturned. They said that the military will step in and riots will be thwarted as a chance to re-vote may be on offer under the quantum voting system once the election fraud has been disclosed to the masses. They said that the Republicans legitimately won the USA vote in November 2020, and this will be clarified and confirmed officially between now and June 2022. They said that the election fraud, in terms of recounts and audits, will reveal that Trump is still the president officially and this will come to light, they're saying, between June 2021 and summer of 2022. And I kind of fell into that timeline. And the feeling that I'm getting is, even if Arizona turns over the election results in favor of Trump in this latest audit that they're carrying out, I still feel that the process from there onwards, in terms of other states overturning, etc., is going to be a bit slower than we had expected. I'm even feeling like it could, as they've been saying here in the channeling, this could actually go on to the end of the year, possibly into 2022. So I don't think there's going to be any fast turnaround or answers or changes, even if Arizona and the other states do overturn the previous election results. So then I asked them, are we still moving towards the golden age? And they said, we are heading towards a new world of love with cleaner air, water, fresh food, clean medicine, and herbal energy medicine. So we are still on track for the golden age. So even though things appear to be going more slowly than we would like, we are actually making progress, even though we might not be able to see it in absolute terms at this time. I asked if the organization of the cabal is still operational, and they said not in any meaningful capacity. The heads of this organization have been removed and executed or incarcerated. The lower ranks now have no meaningful control on an operational level and are still being removed layer by layer, organization by organization. It is all being systematically cleared. So I then asked, how did the White Hats thwart this dark agenda and the New World Order plan? And they said that they dismantled the heads of the Cabal and the Satanic Empire back in 2016-17 and have systematically removed all funding and access to resources from these people. So then I asked, when will Trump come back into power? And they actually said that he won't. So I again asked, could they explain what they mean? And they said that President Trump was only the catalyst for global change, and that he may not be the leader of a party going forward. So they have said this to me in previous channelings. And I said, can they please explain this again to me? And they said that the reins will be handed over to another Trump, who will oversee the new system in the USA, which is now coming into force from, they're saying, late 2021 to 2022. So we still have that slower timeline ahead of us when we're asking about, who's going to come into power. And I said, who will take over the reins? And they said it's most likely to be more than one person, and it's more likely to be a team effort. And they said that the people will elect this team. And they said that this template will be duplicated around the world as each government is exposed as having been fraudulently elected, and then they will also fall. I then wanted to clarify again around why the vaccines are being pushed by President Trump and Ivanka, and I think I even saw Elon Musk pushing the vaccine a week or so ago. And as I've said before, the vaccine storyline has always been told to me that there will be a big twist at the end around the vaccine storyline, and that it is part of the awakening process. However, it is a very complex subject because it's so huge. It's obviously across the entire globe. We have lots of different countries involved, lots of different governments, lots of different cultures. So this is what they said. They said there is a big twist to come around the vaccines. All is not as it seems with this scare narrative. And I said, could they please explain? They said the scare narratives are only to wake the people up and that the whole situation has been turned around a long time ago by the white hats. The New World Order is no longer a viable option. So I have talked about the vaccines in a lot of detail in previous videos, so I don't really want to go into the whole vaccine story again at the moment. But if you want to check out previous videos that I've been doing, I have talked a number of times around the vaccine agenda and the storyline and what they are channeling to me around the vaccines at this time. And it doesn't seem that they're changing their emphasis on the vaccine stories being about waking people up. So I'm not saying that people aren't having reactions to vaccines, but when we're vaccinating so many people on such a large scale, even something simple in those vials could produce a reaction. So I'm not saying that people aren't having reactions. I'm not saying that some bad vaccinations may not have got into the system. But overall, they are telling me that there is a big twist to this storyline, and it is just to wake people up. So please don't write things in the comments below about me being infiltrated or channeling the dark, because that's not the case. They are trying to tell me something which they can see quite clearly, and that obviously we are not unable to understand at this time. And just because we're not able to understand it at this time doesn't mean that anything's wrong with what I'm channeling. So please don't put anything in the comments below that's rude or antagonistic, because it just will be removed. Then I asked about the tunnels and the infrastructure around DC, and had it been flooded, because we had seen a lot of flooding around DC. And they said, yes, the tunnels of DC have been filled with water, and the White House has been shut down. The large pointed monument, which I don't know what the name of it is, perhaps people could put that in the comments below. But that large pointed monument or statue or structure that stands near DC, they're also saying that in the future that will be removed, as it is a satanic marker, a pillar of Satan. I also think there's one of those at the Vatican, so I wouldn't be surprised if that one wasn't going to be removed as well. I then asked, what does quantum mean? They said that quantum means to take an exponential leap of consciousness, to go outside the realms of what was previously understood to be, that was previously understood to be possible. And you combine this by doing spiritual practice with physics, and they use the term metaphysics. So I said, could you call metaphysics quantum? And they said yes and no. Quantum is part of metaphysics, but also operates independently outside of the spiritual equation. So it would appear that quantum is a way of measuring consciousness and how it expands, and it's not just connected to spiritual practice. So quantum is more about the physics of the universe, and at this time of our evolution, we are combining the collective consciousness with the quantum system of physics to create a quantum and exponential shift for the consciousness of humanity. So then I asked, what is consciousness? Consciousness is the allowing of the God source to flow through your being. The level to which this flow is available is equal to the level that the ego has been negated, and the level of spiritual practice and dedication to the inward journey. So then I said, does quantum mean God? And they said, no, but God does oversee the quantum system. So then I said, how powerful are people at this time? because obviously we're trying to get our consciousness to that tipping point of 60%. And they said, in each and every moment, people are as powerful as they believe themselves to be. People have control over their life path and only have to ask for everything that they need in each and every moment with total faith, love, and sincerity. What we believe, we receive. So that's a really nice little reminder. I then asked, is Harry and Meghan, are they white hats? And I was told yes and no. So I asked them, please explain. They said that Prince Harry is a pure soul and Meghan was sent as a test from the dark side. She was sent from the black hats. But Harry did not succumb. And now they do actually both work for the white hats. So I said, did the royal family set up Harry with Meghan? And they said, yes, they were trying to extinguish his light, but he carries his mother's goodness, and that Prince Charles is not Harry's father, but it is James Hewitt, who is Harry's father. And that Harry carries a large amount of light in his soul. So the royals were unable to infiltrate Harry, even though they did try. And so he left the UK to get free of their evil plans and their programming. And it would appear that Meghan has been flipped in that process. Then I was asking about the new system, the new satellite system, Starlink, the satellites that are going up for the new quantum system. I wanted to know if they were good or bad. And I was told that the satellites in and of themselves are advanced technology and are neither good nor bad. The good or bad would come from the intention of the people that were operating the powerful technology at any given time. So I asked, who is operating the technology at the moment? And they said that the Starlink technology is partially operational at this time because it's still being installed. And when it's installed, because it's being designed by Elon Musk for the good of humanity and with good intention, then it will be put into place with many contracted policy measures, or many contractual policy measures, I should say, to secure its use for the good of humanity. So the Starlink system, the satellite system, will be totally life-changing. It is part of the quantum setup, and it will help to deliver a safe and fast quantum internet, an education system, quantum voting, a quantum system to identify criminals. They also said that under the quantum system, that criminals won't necessarily need to be imprisoned, as they can be of productive service whilst being monitored under the quantum surveillance arm of the new system. So this means that criminals could be potentially productive in day-to-day living, because the quantum system will be able to measure and have surveillance on what they're doing at all times. So then I said, because I was worried about the word surveillance, is there potential for the new quantum technology to be used for harm? And they said that many stops and checks have been built into the quantum system, and this is to prevent it from being used with bad intention. So it is able to recognize the consciousness of someone if they have bad intention, and then it can redirect itself towards an outcome which is only for the good. So the technology is neither good nor bad. It's only the people and the intention of the operators that could try to change the technology from being good to being bad. But because it's been built with checks and balances, then the quantum system would not be able to be infiltrated in this way, because it has these many checks and balances, and it does this many times within a fraction of a second. It checks and balances within a fraction of a second, a nanosecond. So it repeatedly checks the consciousness of what it's being asked to do. Then I asked, is the quantum system 5G? Because I get very confused with this. And they said that this isn't 5G, that the quantum system is a different operating system and frequency to the 5G. So I asked them to explain what they mean. They said that the 5G radiation is harmful to the brain, and is delivered via towers near people's homes, cities, and businesses, as we know. But the quantum is a different frequency, and this frequency is harmless. It says, in fact, the quantum frequency can even raise consciousness. So I asked, how does it do this? Or how could it do this? And they said that the quantum system works more on sound and sonics as a frequency, which is similar to the sound of evolution or to God. And so it's therefore nurturing to humanity and encourages healing through its frequencies and its sonics or transmissions. Then I had a few people write to me asking about, are the vaccines creating this erratic menstruation pattern in females at this time? And when I channeled this, they said to me that it wasn't the vaccines that were creating this erratic menstruation cycle in women at this time. It wasn't them being around vaccinated people. It was more to do with the rising of the divine feminine at this time, because Gaia is now rising up in its divine feminine energy. And so this is creating within women this change of cycle and maybe this erratic cycle. I know this sounds more likely because I do know women who have not been around people that are vaccinated that have been commenting to me that their cycles have been erratic. So I don't think the stories about the menstrual cycles of women becoming different around people that are vaccinated is necessarily linked to the vaccines. I think it's more linked to the energy on Earth at this time. The other thing that's just cropped up yesterday is people are hearing that there's going to be a big flooding all over the Earth in different locations, like a tidal wave. So I linked into that information, and I was told that the tide, even though there would be flooding in around the world, because this is normal, we do often see flooding in different parts of the world at different times of the year. But they were saying that the flooding that they were talking about is metaphorical, in the sense that it would be a tidal wave of awakening. So not a tidal wave of flooding, as in water, but a tidal wave of awakening and of a rising consciousness. So that fits with me and resonates much more than the stories I've been hearing around mass flooding all over the Earth. So as I said, I'm not saying that there won't be any flooding, because we always have flooding in different parts of the world at different times of the year. But in terms of the whole Earth having extreme flooding, this is not something that resonates with me. And again, I felt that it was metaphoric for a tidal wave of awakening. Something else that I've been hearing about that's worrying people is Chinese troops have been seen to be maneuvering around in Canada. Now, I did actually talk about this in a video before Christmas, and I did check in again today to see what that was all about. And I've been told that any Chinese troops that are in Canada or at the borders with America are working for the White Hats. So any scare storylines around Chinese troops or flooding, those were the two bits of information that I've been getting in the last 48 hours. I've also heard that someone has been questioning whether Q is actually God. And when I channeled this information, I was told Q is not God, but Q as a collective is channeling God consciousness. So I don't think that Q is necessarily one person. I think Q might be more than one person. It might be a team. And I do feel that they're channeling God consciousness, but I don't get that Q is actually God, the God energy, or God itself. Another question that seems to keep coming up often is the Galactic Federation of Light compromised? I don't really understand where this is all coming from with the compromised Galactic Federation of Light, because I've actually been channeling Commander Ashtar for it must be over 10 years. And it's always been a consistent message and consciousness that I'm linking into. I'm an experienced channeler because I've been doing it for a number of years, over 15 years. And I do channel different entities like angels, ascended masters, one of those being Commander Ashtar. When you've been channeling for as long as I have, you have learnt through your own errors when you're channeling something that's of the light and something that is just being opportunistic. So I get a little bit frustrated when I keep hearing these comments about the Galactic Federation of Light being compromised. So I just wanted to channel something down to see what they had to say about this today. So I said, is the Galactic Federation of Light compromised? And they said no, because light means wisdom. And the people channeling may be the ones that have been compromised, or the organization could have been infiltrated, but this is not actually the case. They said the force field and shield around Ashtar Command is solid and operational to full capacity, so there has not been any breach and no entry of lower consciousness. They said that Commander Ashtar is still vibrating at the 16th dimension of light with the Great White Brotherhood, and that the Great White Brotherhood report directly to God. So I think they've answered that quite clearly, that there's a force shield around the Ashtar Command, which is part of the Galactic Federation of Light. And they are saying that light means wisdom, and that the people channeling may have been compromised, or the organization itself, the Galactic Federation of Light, may have been infiltrated. But they're actually saying that this is not the case. So even though that could happen, they're saying that this is actually not the case at this time. So then I wanted to know, can satanic energy still control us now that the grids of light have all been hooked up and connected? So the grids of light, I saw these being put into place over a year ago by Commander Ashtar and his team. I actually saw the ships putting the grid of light in, the good grid of light. And I wanted to know if the satanic energy can now still control us now those grids are all hooked up. And they said, no, the grids are all active and are incapable of allowing in a denser consciousness. So they're saying that the grids of light will not allow in any consciousness that is below fifth dimension. And they're saying that satanic energy vibrates only to the fourth dimension. So I said, has the satanic energy now left Earth? And they said, no, that some is still very present. And I said, and where is this satanic energy residing? And they said that it does reside in some people's consciousness, but that the light is preventing it from forming into another satanic consciousness. That has now been dissipated by the beams of energy emanating out from the quantum system. So I read that to mean that the grids of light, which form part of the quantum system, are now helping to dissipate any satanic consciousness as and when it may arise. They said the Ashtar command are also helping the quantum system to be held steady during its setup, and that they are the backup generator. So Ashtar Command, who is part of the Galactic Federation of Light, are holding this grid of light, which is part of the quantum system, as a backup to help to dissipate any of this satanic consciousness as and when it may arise, if it arises. Then I asked, is there a significant date which is coming up where we'll see tremendous world change? And they said the first day of summer in the UK and the USA is a major turning point or tipping point in 2021. Then I recently had visions that Glastonbury Tor had been infiltrated and a dark portal had been opened. So I've been keeping my eye on Glastonbury Tor in my visions and my remote viewing, and I still feel to a greater extent that dark portal is still there. So I just wanted to check what they had to say about that. And they are saying that some negative intentions were placed in and around Glastonbury at the start of 2021, but they have been dissipated by Gaia as she is rising up in her divine feminine energy naturally. And this is dissipating the darkness and the hate that was placed at the Tor. I did ask who placed the hate and the darkness at the Tor, and interestingly they said that this was denied, that they wanted to protect me from knowing who that was. So I thought that was quite interesting. So if anybody else has the ability to remote view or feel into Glastonbury Tor, I'd be interested to hear what your feelings are about that place at the moment and how the energy feels to you. So then I was asking about clones and do they exist? Because this is the thing that I have the hardest time understanding, is clones and their consciousness. And they said that clones do exist, but not in the way that we apparently understand them to be at this present moment. They said that each cloned being or animal is just a genetic material, and that the soul of people, which is always a distinct energy and is obviously different in each person, is not genetically the same as the clone from which the genetic material came from. So let me try and explain that a bit better. So even though you can make the genetic material identical to the person that you're trying to duplicate, you can't duplicate its soul. Its soul will be different. So even though it may look identical, the soul of that genetic material will be different to the original soul of the person that you've duplicated. So I hope that makes sense. So if you think about Dolly the sheep that was cloned in the UK, if you think of the original Dolly had her own soul consciousness, and then we created a second Dolly who looked the same and was genetically the same, but at a soul level, she had her own soul. So she had a different soul to the first Dolly. So that's how they've been trying to explain that to me when I've been asking about the clones, which might be why it's difficult for me to tune into clones and to read their souls, and why it never feels like they're actually dead or alive, or because it's very difficult to read whether a soul is dead or alive because they're eternal. But also, if these clones are looking the same but inhabiting individual or different souls, then obviously that's why it's making it difficult for me to read. Another question I wanted to ask was, does the pineal gland, which is the third eye, which is where we have our clairvoyance, does that become calcified and therefore stop our clairvoyance? And they said that the actual pineal gland, which is obviously in the brain, can become covered in a white fatty substance, but this will not and does not inhibit clairvoyance, because clairvoyance is a combination of the whole energetic system running at a high frequency. So it's not just down to the pineal gland on its own. So what they're trying to explain is the chakra system kind of runs outside of your body. It's an energetic system which runs, from front to back. So for instance, the third eye runs from the front to the back here. So the pineal gland is obviously in the center of the brain and is part of that mechanism. But what they're saying is that it's the actual energetic system, the whole energetic system being balanced, that helps you to have your clairs, your clairsentience, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and claircognizance. It's not necessarily dependent upon whether the pineal gland is calcified or not. So they're saying that an imbalance in your energetic system, i.e. your chakra system, would be more likely to prevent you from having clairvoyance than actually damage to the pineal gland. So it's a combination of many factors and not just one thing. Then finally, I wanted to ask around Ivanka Trump's husband, who I understand to be Jared Kushner. And there has been talk of him being part of Mossad, and I just wanted to clarify this, because I didn't get that feeling when I was reaching into this storyline. So they told me that this is just a storyline to throw people away from the potential that Ivanka is going to run for office. So that's very interesting, because obviously if her partner had been involved in something to do with Mossad or the deep state, then it would have put her in a compromised position if she wanted to run for office. So they're saying that this is just a storyline. So I'm hoping that that is the case. So just to finish off, the final message that they gave me was that there's going to be a lot of fast-paced change ahead of us now for the whole of humanity. And those who have been asleep will soon be jolted into a new state of awareness. The tidal wave of awakening is upon us. So I hope you've enjoyed this shorter video today. If you have any questions, then please put them down in the comments below. I do read all your comments. And I hope to see you next time.